We are back with This Week in Fantasy, the weekly NFL show that takes a look at the Football League, best known around the world through the tiny little lens of our Fantasy Football League. And when I say our, that means that I have a guest, and the king of funny himself is here, the man who is fishing clout on Patrick Mahomes' back like he's going for the cape. Ben, how's it going?
Doing great. Had to change my name from the Fantasy Genius to something more relevant to this season. But like you said, I'm riding Mahomes' back.
And not just clout farming either, Ben, win farming, as you took a W after a very close loss in the opening week. Can you talk about that crushing opening loss?
Yeah, I honestly didn't look at the league probably for the next 3 days. I was fucking depressed. That was such a close game, but especially having Randall Cobb score 20 on my bench. But it's all right. This past week made up for it. I'm looking forward to this week 3 against No Fried.
I totally agree. It's going to be a great matchup, and obviously whoever wins that, I think, is probably the strongest in the division as a result.
Yeah, I mean, No Fried has a really strong team too. So, I won't count out Aaron yet. I mean, Aaron always puts out a valiant effort, and Cam has gotten better over the years. So, I mean, he's always an interesting team to watch as well, and he doesn't have a bad team this year either, I don't think. So, but I'm hoping if I can win this with No Fried, I can kind of take control, like you said.
Now, considering that we're about to jump into matchups, I think we should hit the high notes of the waiver wire. And first and foremost, I think you've got to talk about Cameron dropping the number one guy for the Atlanta Falcons as far as the run game goes, and that's Devonta Freeman, the artist formerly known as Devote, when I was devoted to drafting him over and over. What do you think about this move?
Cameron is kind of notorious over the years for dropping players that still have quite a bit of fantasy value, in my opinion. But it, uh, I still don't understand why he did it. I mean, even if he hasn't produced at the beginning of the year, I mean, the NFL is such a. I mean, it's going to be a long 4 months, so you never know who's going to burst out for 20, 30 points in a random week. So I think it was a little bit early to shoot the gun for Cameron there, but
The weird thing
I
is,
guess we'll see.
ob-
Who picked him up?
oh, Spencer, of course, as though
Okay,
Spencer
I mean,
needed
I
a
put in a
fucking
claim too,
boost.
but I
Oh,
didn't know.
everyone put in a clam. Are you kidding me? And what's funny is
Yeah, I mean,
Spencer got spanked by Jackson last week and got rewarded for it. Spencer has a fucking starting back when his main weakness was backs. You know,
yeah, it's it's a good pickup by Spencer because Lord knows I think Cameron's gonna regret it.
I haven't even really gotten Cameron's take. And the motherfucker just dropped him because he's been hurt. Like, did he not even read that he's gonna come back? Like, soon?
Yeah, I and it was like I mean it was not like a late round draft pick either. I mean it was still pretty early on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty early to give up like on a mid round or early round draft pick.
That's true. So, are there any other interesting waiver wire things that you want to talk about? Obviously, Dan Bailey got picked up. Seagout scooped him up and dropped Crosby, Stills, and Nash, as old Boomer used to say.
I think Spencer getting, or not, excuse me, I think Weston getting Trey Burton and dropping Jack Doyle was a pretty solid move.
Yes, I agree. Jack Doyle was underperforming, to say the least.
And I like Trey Burton. Trubisky's not looked too bad, and he's the number one. So
Trubisky is developing. I think he's going to be a Rex Grossman type, a Kyle Orton tier quarterback, if you will, at some point.
well, Kyle Orton got into the Super Bowl. So
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes average gets it done. Speaking of average, Alex Smith dropped by the Aggie Weston. Thoughts?
uh, Alex Smith is like the most underrated quarterback when it comes to NFL production, like winning games, but in fantasy wise, I don't put any stock into Alex Smith, honestly. I mean, he's good for a solid 15 points, 20 points every once in a while, then put up a dud. So he's a very conservative, game managing kind of quarterback, and I'm all right with Weston dropping him.
To me, he's the epitome of average. He goes out there, he throws, 250 yards, a couple touchdowns, he puts up decent numbers, but he never really pops off, but he's never really awful. He's just average. And you put him in Kansas City with that guy who really loves chicken wings, Andy Reid, and all these options, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt. The world is his oyster. Kelsey, and he just puts up average numbers. And now he's
I mean, look what
gone.
Mahomes is doing with that entire set of tools compared to what
Exactly.
Alex Smith was doing.
Mahomes is making it
Not
look
saying
like
Alex Smith is terrible, but it was just
it
average.
was exactly. It's average. It's not like he's bad, but Mahomes is making it look like he's still in college for these first two games. And as his fantasy football owner, you have got to love that.
Oh, I mean, I was in such a dilemma during the draft because I wanted to draft Mahomes so much earlier on. One would pick him up because I mean, Andrew, there were still multiple good quarterbacks ahead of Mahomes when I drafted him, and it was like the seventh round. So I waited quite a while to get a quarterback, which is probably the longest I've ever waited to get a quarterback in this league. So, and to have the production that he's outputting and being from the college that I still attend, and I mean, it's I wear that Mahomes jersey every Sunday. Like I'm a complete fucking stan for him right now. So I'm thrilled out of my mind.
It makes fantasy football interesting whenever someone that you care about for whatever reason is on your team. But more importantly, it makes watching the actual games interesting whenever you really have a reason to root for someone. Even if you like one specific player, are you really going to become a full-blown Chiefs fan? Well, let me say this. If you have Mahomes and Hill, which you do, in a league where you've put money in, you're going to really care and it's going to be fun to root for it. It's the same sensation you would get from putting $30 down on a college basketball game. That's part of why I think fantasy football is interesting. What do you think about that?
No, I mean it really is because I changed my picture to my from little Uzi to me and Mahomes on the beat. I mean, just that a connection I have with just taking that picture with him, and now I get to root for him, and I have money down in the league, and I mean, it doesn't even have to be as personal as like me knowing Mahomes or not knowing Mahomes, but I've met him. It's just if you went into the same college or he's from Texas or I mean he likes certain. I mean I don't know like you like his Twitter feed. I mean it doesn't matter what it is. You have certain attachments to certain players. That's what makes sports great when you get to see them succeed.
So I want to ask you, since you brought up Twitter, I want to get your official statement on your Twitter. You're an infamous Twitter user for a long time, and you had a lot of funny posts, and you used it very heavily, and you've deleted your account before and came back, but you've been inactive for a long time, and your account is still existing. And I think we all know that Twitter has gone downhill and it's a shell of what it once was. But I just want to get your official statement of your inactivity on Twitter. Why is it?
I mean I just deleted it because I'm in the college bed now. I don't want to like anyone going through my old tweets making me out to be someone I'm not. So and plus I honestly I feel a lot better without Twitter. I mean like it's the first time since seventh grade I haven't used it. So but mentally I feel a lot like not using it. I don't know why, but that's the truth. I really have no plan or intentions of going back.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think at this point almost all of us have milked Twitter for pretty much all we can, honestly,
Fair enough.
regardless of how you use it. Even people who just sort of use it to follow people at school, like it's sort of run its course, sort of like Facebook. But
I agree with that.
anyway, one last question that I want to ask about your team. I'm actually going to delay it until the matchup preview, but it involves Mahomes and the fact that we were just talking about him. It's an excellent segue into the division talk. Usually we reserve this for sort of the playoff hunt, but since I'm doing so well, I think we're going to go ahead and touch on it now. The Cursed Lands
You
division.
are doing great this season, by the way. I haven't
And
touched on that. But
We're
Kudos
going.
to you. I've never seen you come out of the gate this strong.
I know, usually it's the odd win to Lily, and then I immediately get decimated by Weston. Or Seagouch puts up a good fight. I think we pretty much have a 500 record against each other. I think he might be one up on me or something. But he's like 12 and 2 at this point against me, dude. His record's crazy against me. It's so good. It's one of the most,
He's a great owner.
yeah, he's real active, and
He
that's,
was a great acquisition for this league.
yes, I totally agree. Way better than your second team,
And
which is
Jackson.
who he replaced, by the way. That's who Weston replaced. Is TX Nurse. Ben had extra stock inside like he was insider trading. 3 teams at one point, this guy.
It was great.
And this is back when we did 4 divisions of 3. So theoretically, he had a hand in so many cookie jars. But to be fair,
Yeah.
I never saw you do anything like egregious. It
No,
seemed like you were just
I
managing
never.
everything sort of straight up. But regardless, at this point, I think we could definitively say this is the strongest the league has ever been, don't you think?
I mean, 100% agree. I mean, all the active owners that we have, the more active owners you have, the better the league, in my opinion. So, especially with the strategy and knowledge a lot of these players have in football and sports in general, but especially football.
It makes everything more interesting that you know in week 8, even if the person that your division rival is playing is 1 and 7, you know that they're going to set an active lineup.
Oh yeah, I mean, because they still have enough respect for the other players not to just give up and do what that guy did at halftime and just retire.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm sitting here just sort of thinking, we're finally in a league where everyone is active, and if you want to go on the waiver wire, good luck. I was talking to Spencer about this the other day, and he was pointing out he puts in claims for guys, and it's not just Weston or like the odd owner trying to go after the same person as him. It's hard. With Jackson and Sam especially, 2 of the newer owners, they're waiver wire hawks. It's gotten a lot more difficult.
And I pride myself on finding like finds on the waiver wire. And you're 100% correct. There's so many times nowadays where I'm thinking I'll get it, and no, I mean there's 3 or 4 other owners that have put in claims on the same player. So it's a good problem to have, though. I don't because it's a lot more competitive.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think one thing that sort of goes without saying, but not a lot of people realize, especially if you've had some trouble opening the year, but frequently when you put in claims for guys and you do get them, half the time there's 6 other claims on that guy. And it's just that maybe the couple of other people who have worse records than you and were ahead of you in the priority didn't put the waiver in for that guy, obviously, but maybe 6 out of the handful of people that are behind you, 7 or 8 or however many it might be, did.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm leading my division. We have Seagouch and Weston both at 1 and 1, and I'm playing Seagouch this week. And Lily unfortunately is 0 and 2, despite being hailed as having a very consistent team.
He has been very consistent over the past few years.
And this year specifically, she has Zeke and Lamar Miller, which is a nice little top half front to be able to grind out there.
Yeah, I mean she's definitely going to cause some problems at the back end of that division down the road.
Gruden's Grinders, who's Jackson, just put a good old-fashioned hurtin' on Stephen A. Race. That's Spencer, who is at 1 and 1 along with the new guys. And unfortunately for the commissioner, he has put up 146, the lowest in the league, and he's sitting at 0 and 2. What do you think about this division?
I was looking at this the other day. I mean, I think it's really interesting because one, Jackson's a great owner. He plays many leagues, but I mean, he obviously takes them all seriously. And seeing the owner at 0-2, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the owner, his old traditions, his old ways of drafting and playing the game are not adept, or to the new young guys that are in the league. So I mean, I have no idea. Maybe he's just had some bad luck. He's not been very successful a couple of years, but I mean, with Stephen A and the new guys right there, 2 and 3. I mean, that's a tough division. It's called the division of death for a reason.
Yes, indeed. And for Clap 4, I think this is mostly about Deshaun Watson. He really gambled big on that guy. Houston's come up real floppy, real soft. I mean, just so flaccid. It's sort of been rough for Clap 4 to not get any production out of his quarterback. But we're about to move into the final matchups of last week and then jump into week 3. But right before we do that, I want you to tell me about your division.
I mean, honestly, No Fried is really like been consistent over these, and I mean he's already put up 223 points, which I think is third most in the league behind you and Jackson. And I mean, he's had 213 scored against him. So I mean, it's not like that loss that he had was bad either. Same way with me. Cameron's team, though, I think can be consistent enough to grind out a few wins, but I don't intention. But I really do think it's going to be between me, No Fried, and then I think Aaron will be in contention as well.
Okay. So let's talk about last week. Let's start with your game. Tell me about it. It was you versus Cameron, a classic rivalry, a division rivalry. You gotta love that. You get to play twice. To me, this is one of those almost like an OU versus UT, a Yanks versus Sox. This is one of those matchups that when it happens, no matter what, the other owners are watching. So I want you to walk me through this one, just very briefly. Tell me about it. And you can click on Simple Box Score, which is to the right of Recap and to the left of Full Box Score to see what you need to see.
Yeah, I think Cameron's team stacked up pretty nicely. I mean, I like Aaron Rodgers, but scored 16. Mahomes scored 38. For those at home that don't want to do the math, that's a 22-point difference. And I won by 23 points. So, I mean, that was a significant amount of my team. My running backs, Jordan Howard kind of had a week, even though he's my most consistent running back at only 6.8. Bilal Powell for Cameron had 14. I mean, solid running back. Saquon Barkley for him, too, had 10.8 against Dallas. I mean, not a bad combo there. Overall, like I said, Cameron could have a better season than I'm predicting, but if you look at his wide receiver play, Demaryius Thomas, Jarvis Landry, I'm not going to trust Jarvis Landry until Mayfield comes in because Tyrod Taylor he's a good dual threat quarterback, but he's no threat in the air on a week-to-week basis. And then Case Keenum, same with Case Keenum in Denver. And Demaryius Thomas, I mean, I don't know how his wide receivers are going to deal with the course of the year. Randall Cobb got me 3. Tyreek Hill thankfully got a touchdown. And I think like 90 yards, got me 15 points. Tight ends wise, I got lucky because I picked up O.J. Howard since my Greg Olsen injury for the next few weeks. Really, really impressive what Fitzpatrick and him have done. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Greg Olsen injury for a few weeks, a few months. You need to wish that you had a freaking inactive spot to move that guy to, because he's going to be hurt a long time. That's the same foot, my friend. That's the same foot.
I mean, they said it was only going to be a couple weeks.
Oh, a couple weeks.
But back to the score. Jordan Reed only got 3.5 for Cameron, so I won the tight end battle on that. On the slot spot, the flex spot, Cameron won that by a huge margin. Deshaun Jackson with 18.9 points and Cooper Kupp with 6.3. I really do like Cooper Kupp.
Oh, you love him.
I think he's a solid slot player, dude. Greg Zulerine got 0 points.
Cameron, 0.
big 0. Chris Boswell got me 3. And then both of our defenses, Jets and Packers respectively, got 9, which ended up with a 104-80 win for me. Like I said, Cameron's team, not bad, a very solid team, but I don't think his wide receivers are going to hold him up for very long, or excuse me, his running backs, because I don't think the rest of his team, including his wide receiver, tight end, I don't think they're going to put up consistent numbers for him. But I do like the top 3 of Aaron Rodgers, Powell, and Barkley. I think that is a solid top 3 for him. And Deshaun Jackson is not a bad wide receiver / flex spot.
Yes, I think
so. I really do think it is an improved team on paper so far for Cameron. I mean, I'm impressed with what I'm seeing.
Hey, try unplugging your mic and plugging it back in while I talk, okay? Because you're sort of robot voicing a little, and I thought it was because of the storm, but just try a replug and plug in while I talk.
Okay.
So Mahomes obviously popped off in this game. Barkley had a solid 10, but it wasn't great. Powell had 14, which is good for him. What I look at here, is Demaryius Thomas, completely soft, basically did nothing. Jarvis Landry is a product of the Cleveland offense that is bad. Yes, it's better, but Cleveland isn't an offense that's going to punch it in. If you look at Cleveland, the same reason that they've screwed the pooch and failed to win the first 2 games is the same reason Landry only had receiving yards and no touchdown. They can sort of do it. They're better than horrible now, but it's still not quite there. Jordan Reed fumbled hugely to piss away the game for his team. Deshaun Jackson's popping off with fits. Obviously, Greg the Leg didn't play. And for Cameron, usually Cameron actually starts off hot and then fades. At this point, he's 1-1 like you. Ben, by week 10, so after 10 games are played, what will Cameron's record be?
I think anywhere from 5-5 to 4-6. Honestly, I don't really see him winning this next week. I think it's going to be a tough, first 2 games non-conference for him. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that top 3 holds him up. But I don't really see him being above 500. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I think he'll put up respectable numbers, but there's so many good teams this year, man. If you've seen these scores already, where you can score 100 points and you're not even guaranteed a W. So
yes, the level of play certainly has gotten a lot higher.
And I mean, I don't know if that was just because it's the beginning or what, but I mean, there's some really good teams out there, and sometimes 80, 90, 100, 110 points, and it's not going to cut it. Some weeks, sometimes it is really just the luck of the draw, the timing, but fantasy really is a weak animal in that sense. But I don't know. I really do not see him over 500.
Let's talk about No Fraud putting a hurting on Rampy, who managed 100, but No Fraud still won by double digits. And unfortunately, my client is a bit glitched. It says Carlson was on bye but got 3 points. But no, Rivers did work for Aaron. Chimera broke 10. Aguilar broke 10. Diggs did the main amount of work. Drake was decent. Aaron looked solid here. Adrian Peterson went completely flaccid. Tyler Eidfrit's not very good, or he's always hurt, one or the other. And the Steelers' defense got trashed by Mahomes. I think if Aaron had gotten a little bit of consistency here, he would have been able to manage the 16 or 15-point difference.
Yeah. Peterson's – I'm rooting for him because he's still in the league, but he's not going to put up the numbers he did in week 1 on a consistent basis. I mean, it's not the same old Adrian Peterson. But, not a bad loss for Aaron, honestly. I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to be a superstar all season for the Saints. So, I mean, but kudos to No Fry, though. I mean, Kirk Cousins, 33 points, and Melvin Gordon, 24. Which, by the way, Melvin Gordon is great draft pick by him. Melvin Gordon's like an example of one of those running backs who didn't really turn out the way people thought he would the first 2 seasons. I mean, me included. I drafted him his rookie year, but now in his third, fourth year, I think it is. I think it's his third. I mean, he is really blossoming in that Philip Rivers offense.
Yes. So we see that after Adrian Peterson went flaccid for Aaron, really got shut down, Chris Hogan hauled in 2 touchdowns. Imagine if Drake was starting, Peterson was benched, and Hogan was flexed. Obviously, there's no reason to do that after Peterson did so well. You know, you would never really do that. But it is interesting to note that Aaron had the points on his bench here to do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing as a fantasy owner. Like I said, with Randall Cobb in week 1 on the bench, but Chris Hogan's a really good wide receiver for that team. I know that Brady loves to spread it around to like 15 different receivers every game, but I mean I don't blame him for not playing him. It's hard to not play him when Aguilar and Diggs and Drake do well, but like you said with Peterson and like the way he played in week 1, there's no reason not to. Or even Lynch. I mean, it wouldn't. Even if he would have played Lynch, he still would have lost.
Yeah,
But instead of Peterson,
it wouldn't have made up the point difference, but it is interesting to note Hogan hauled in 2 here. Another big win for No Fraud despite his defense getting negative.
yeah, I mean, it fucked me week 1. So I'm glad I didn't screw over No Fred this week.
Let's go to Gruden's Grinders versus Spencer. I'll run through this one. Jared Goff did average. Raplesberger popped off. Chris Thompson did Chris Thompson. He got around 10. Todd Gurley, well, he did Todd Gurley. He fucking scored 30. He had 2 2-point conversions. I don't know if you've noticed this, but since they've made the field goal or the extra point way harder, I think on some level they've sort of encouraged teams to go for 2. And like if you can get a fantasy guy that is like the guy that they always use to go for 2, you can get some sort of random extra points if they're the like remember back when if the Cowboys went for 2, like they were just gonna give it to Dez every time. They were gonna like throw that high point to Dez.
I remember Peyton Manning it would either be like 2-point conversions or just like one, like on the one. And they would always just do quarterback sneaks with him, and then Peyton Manning would have a random rushing touchdown or a random 2-point conversion. Like
yeah, they would ram it in when they had.
There's a lot of random things that can happen 2-point conversions. But you're right. It is nice to have someone like Gurley that can actually do that.
And for Spencer, Hyde did what Hyde is supposed to do. He got around the dozen. But Connor, who unfortunately for you is really popping off while Le'Veon Bell is lazy on Bell and basically says, fuck you, give me more money. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's really upsetting me, honestly, because it's not upsetting me because I think Bell at some point will return, but it's just triggering me because I drafted him so early and I'm not getting a return right now. But even if it's with another team or if it's with with the Steelers, I think if he's healthy, I mean, I think it'll be good for him. I think he'll be a healthy Le'Veon Bell later on the season. He'll have a lot of energy. He won't be as tired as he would be mid. I'm hoping that works out for me, but right now James Conner looks like a good, solid option at running back for the Steelers until he returns. So kudos to Jackson for picking him up. That's what triggers me the most. But it's a competitive league, so it is what it is.
Are they going to timeshare if Bell takes forever to get back and then Connor is doing well the whole time? Will it turn into a timeshare?
I mean, and I can see that, and that doesn't even bother me if that actually happens, because at least I would be getting some production out of Bell rather than him just racking up donut after donut. What you said?
You said, or I said, you just hope that he plays.
I mean, yeah, I really do. At this point, I didn't know it was going to take so long. And then I mean, and neither I didn't think to sign to a team either. I mean, there's a lot of strange things going on, but I mean, they're just trying to get their money. It's fucking me over, but I think it might be resolved by the end of the season when teams need running backs when they take their tolls over these next few weeks.
Make sure you're holding your mic close to your mouth. You're sort of cutting in and out. Just try to hold it steady up by your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Spencer here, Stephen A. Race. He goes down. Brown, Allen, Graham, Jaguars, Thompson, all less than 10. Thielen did really well. Gold put up good numbers. Hyde did what you want him to. And Thompson wasn't terrible, but Jackson here really just brutalized him with the top of his lineup. Roethlisberger had one of the best games that he's had in a long time. Gurley popped off completely and showed why people were getting him first overall. And then Connor, I mean, if you just look at the top three, that's where Jackson did most of his damage and really smoked Spencer and then talked a little bit of shit to him. Told him he was
Oh
easy.
yeah, I mean, it was a little blood was boiling in the chat.
What did you think about Spencer's initial response, Ben?
Uh, I mean, it, it sounded kind of whiny, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it happens in this league, so him and Jackson definitely have some animosity towards each other.
That's going to be a great matchup late in the season because probably both of them are still going to be in playoff contention.
Oh, I mean, they're both such great owners,
That
so I wouldn't doubt it.
that's going to be so great, dude. And I think Gurley's on bye that week, dude. Yeah, I know he is actually for Jackson. He's on bye against Spencer. So we have the new guys versus Clap 4. The new guys narrowly won, and really Clap 4 was down like 11, and he had his boy Allen Robinson playing, who got 83 yards but no touchdown. Had he reeled one in, Clap 4 would have won. Instead, he doesn't and holds the L. What do you think about this matchup?
Very close. I mean, very similar to how I lost week one. I feel for Clout for. I mean, just especially in the way he lost too at the very in there on Sunday night. But 0-2 to start the season for the commish. Not a good look right now. But like I said, it's called the division of death for a reason. And there's going to be games like this where it's just 2-3 points, scraping by. So you just gotta move. I mean, try to have a short memory and move the next week.
I agree. Seagouch absolutely destroyed Lilly, and many of us predicted Lilly to win, actually. Seagoucher had Matt Ryan put up 30. Both of his running backs were merely passable. T.Y.
Mm-hmm.
Hilton with 15. Crosby got him 17, and Seagouch dropped his bitch ass. The Texans only got him 2. This is a weird, weird Seagouch win, where you look at his team and it's like
Five
OBJ, o,
different players are single digits.
OBJ played the Cowboys and was bad somehow. Kyle Rudolph didn't catch a touchdown. The Texans pretty much got lit up considering they were playing Tennessee. But between
Yeah,
the kicker, Westbrook, T.Y.
and Matt
Hilton, and Matt Ryan,
Ryan
and then like honestly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that both of his running backs, they weren't good, but they both got just below
manageable.
10, which like, a lot of times you put in running
Hey,
backs and you're like if they get over 5, like I'm not happy
it's a
about it,
good
but
day.
like 8 and 9, okay. 8 and 9 is one of those things where like it's probably not going to lose you the week, but it's not going to win you the week certainly. If we look over here at Lily's team, Mike Wallace, who pretty much everyone said he shouldn't
IR.
start, 0. 0, Nino. And no one broke 16. Tom Brady put up 16.36. Other than that, Lamar Miller didn't do his thing, failed to get 10. Zeke was decent because he punched in once against the awful Giants defense, which frankly he should have been running all over. They should have been humiliating the Giants.
Yeah.
Fitz, 2.8. Ingram caught a touchdown and did well. Gostkowski was okay. Somehow Ted Ginn managed to be useless versus Cleveland. And the Vikings
Fumble.
and the Vikings tied. Oh, this game, man. This game. This is like a typical Seagouch win where you look at it and he puts up 106. You should, like, if you just look at the numbers of what his team got, and then I don't know. I don't know if it's like deceptive. Obviously, you could literally add it up and figure it out, but if you just glance at it, you would think like maybe he got like 80 or something, just based on how many single digits there are. But like, no, he put up 106 and won huge.
It really is a strange, stat line for him. 5 players underneath double digits.
Do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and suddenly you win by like 50. So I played Weston, who I almost always lose to, and I blew his doors off. Poured peanut butter all over him. Drew Brees played the Saints, or he plays on the Saints, played the Browns, shit the bed, managed about 17.5 regardless. Coleman was good because DeVote was gone. Hopefully he will continue to be decent when DeVote returns. David Johnson, bad again. Playing a good defense again. He'll be playing another good defense in week 3. A.J. Green popped off 3 touchdowns. Smith-Schuster got me 18. Gronk had a shitty week and now he's on the injury report. Fun. Cooks did well. Bryant did average, and the Rams defense did well. On Team Weston, Alex Smith shit enough bed to get dropped. Mixon and Freeman both got around 9. Freeman got about 10. Michael Thomas managed to punch it in twice to ruin the day of Browns fans. Jack Doyle got himself cut too. Devin Funchess is in an offense where the quarterback is ranked 28th in completion percentage last year. This Kansas City kicker with the shit tier last name was just kicking extra points because Mahomes was punching it in. And the Browns were shitty versus Oakland. Or the Broncos, I mean.
Oh, yeah. That's not a very good usually you see a higher defensive output than that.
So what do you think of this game before we get into next week?
Well, one of the premier matchups, I think, because both very good owners. Drew Brees, Alex Smith, I mean, pretty much did the same thing. I mean, Drew Brees outperforming a little bit. But, A.J. Green for you and your wide receiver core is just insane, man. I mean, to be honest, with A.J. Green, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Brandon Cooks, that's pretty damn good in my opinion. That's a very good top 3 wide receiver core. And then you got, one of the premier quarterbacks in the league with Drew Brees, fantasy-wise, wise.
Yep. Talk to
and then and then David Johnson. Johnson hasn't even popped up yet, and because of the Freeman injury, doing good. So you have a really solid top 5 there, top 6. And then Gronk, not performing very well, but through and through, I mean, even went down to the Rams defense, you got you 13. Just a solid team in general. And then with Weston, just mediocre weeks by all of his players. I mean, now Alex Smith with 13, Mixon 8, Freeman 8, Sanders 9.6, Thomas went off with 18.9. Jack Doyle, like you said, was cut after this week, only with 2 points. Funchess, as you know well, Panther fan, 7.7. I mean, it just mediocre, just a lot of single-digit scoring. And to be fair, your team had especially at wide receiver, had an outstanding week.
All right.
And like you said, just shit on all over West.
So let's move on. Week 3. Since we just talked about me, let's keep talking about me. Drew Brees versus Matt Ryan. This is sort of one of those mirror matchups. Ben, who do you give the edge to?
love when this happens. Love when like the opposing running backs or especially quarterbacks are facing each other on both teams, fantasy and in real life. But oh man, it's tough. Whenever these two teams play together, it's very hard to happen. But I think it's going to be a shootout. So I think both of y'all's quarterbacks could have plus 20 weeks. I mean, what do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. I think that both teams are probably going to score over 20, 21.
If they were playing in the Superdome, I would. Seems like every time these two teams play in the Superdome, it's like a Texas Tech game or any Big 12 game. No defense. But then he has Tevin Coleman. Excuse me, you have Tevin Coleman, which is one of those, like, it's kind of hard as a fantasy owner because when you own Matt Ryan, a lot of Matt Ryan's production is passing to Tevin Coleman and hand the ball off to Tevin Coleman to balance out the pass game. So it'll be interesting to see how much points you're tossing in that game alone at noon.
I agree with that completely. It's always nice when one of your opponent's best weapons, especially quarterback almost always, is sort of tampered by someone that you have on your team. And I know that Freeman is coming back, and Gio Bernard is sort of going to get the solo duty for a couple weeks for his team. So I might play Gio for one of these dudes. Probably Coleman would be the guy I would pull if I pulled.
Cincinnati has a decent run game where they can punch it in. I mean, I can see that being a good replacement.
Unfortunately for David Johnson, he's playing the best run defense in the league.
Kelvin Mack, newly acquisition.
That is unfortunate for old David Johnson, who's been shitty for his first 2 weeks.
I mean, this is honestly one of the best matchups of the week, especially with y'all's wide receivers core. I mean, like I already pointed out how great yours is with Green and Smith-Schuster, and he has Odell, Westbrook, which I think is a very underrated player for Jacksonville, especially in Blake Bortles' offense where they throw it 40, 50 times a game. And T.Y. Hilton, very underrated, especially since Andrew Luck is now back, playing a pretty good Philadelphia team in Philly, but it's just a star-studded roster on both sides. I mean, you'll have household names at every position.
Rudolph is known for catching touchdowns, too.
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot playing Buffalo. He's probably been the worst team in football this entire season so far. I did not know Dan Bailey was picked up by Minnesota. I'll be honest about that.
Yeah, Minnesota was having some kicker issues, as usual. Oh, Blair Walsh.
You're right. Oh, man, how many second chances did they give him?
Not Billy Walsh, but Blair Walsh.
Blair, yeah. Missing field goals in the playoff. Blair Walsh.
I think that both Green and Beckham are going to pop over 14 here. What do you think?
Yeah, when I'm looking at it, I think it's going to be where Seagout scores around 80, maybe even 90, but I think that your team is so potent where it's going to 10, 115, if not higher week, just because you have good matchups all around. There's a solid lineup, week to week. There's a 2-0. So I think my prediction is you will continue the season undefeated as the only undefeated. Or actually, no, there's one more undefeated team. But
Jackson, yeah.
I think you'll continue your season as 3, though.
Okay, let's move on. The Anomaly versus Weston. You lead this one.
Well, both quarterbacks for them. Actually, let me say this. Tom Brady against Detroit, great matchup on a Sunday night. I think Brady pops off. What's interesting is that Carson Wentz is starting for Weston, which is, as we know, going to be his first start since his injury. So this is really just a random question mark for me. Not his decision to start him. Just I have no idea what Carson Wentz is going to do. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be bad, but over the course of the season, but he might be rusty his first week back against an NFL team. I mean, and not saying Indianapolis's defense is good, but it's young, it's athletic, so I think it could cause some problems for Carson Wentz. But in that battle against Brady and Wentz, I see Brady having the outcome or the advantage. Excuse me. But then you look at to the running backs, the anomaly of Zeke, Lamar Miller playing a tough Giants defense, like you mentioned earlier. Zeke playing a tough Seahawks defense, as we all know. And in an offense that so far has just been stagnant for the Cowboys. And then you look to Clement for Weston. I like Leonard Fournette, especially even if the Titans' defense is solid. I like Leonard Fournette. I think he's a good player. I think he can bust out a decent 9 or 10. And then Corey Clement's been really good for Philadelphia, which I think they'll rely on the run a lot now that Carson Wentz is starting his first game back. I think they're going to try to ease him back into things. So I think Clement could see a big workload in this game and get a lot of points. And then the wide receivers, you have Fitzgerald and Wallace. And I hope that Lily changes Wallace. I hope she realizes that he's on the IR.
Me too.
But Fitzgerald, just a shitty offense with Sam Bradford for Arizona. Just flaccid in the definition of the word. I mean, I can't believe how bad that offense has looked. So, and Fitzgerald is one of my favorite wide receivers in the league, one of my most respected players because he can continue to be a difference maker even in how old he is. He's still a premier athlete. And the fact that he's stuck it out with that team for as long as he has is just incredible because it's just a putrid offense right now. But looking on the other side of things, Weston, Emmanuel Sanders playing at Baltimore, not a good matchup, especially with how Case Keenum has looked. But Case Keenum has been throwing the ball a lot, so at least there's an opportunity for targets. And then Mike Thomas, just man, we already mentioned how that game is going to look for y'all. That for you and Christian. But Mike Thomas has looked great these last few weeks, and I can't imagine how he's against Atlanta in a division game. So I imagine he's going to put up big numbers. Evan Ingram, decent player, but playing Houston defense, and he's kind of and then Trey Burton, like I mentioned earlier, Weston just picked up Trey Burton this week, a great tight end in my opinion that I think is kind of underrated. Playing, as we mentioned, a terrible Arizona team. I imagine he'll get some points as well. Advantage tight end to Weston. The wide receiver battle, I won't say because Red's playing, but I'm not going to give anything away. But just favorite target. So over the course of the season, I think it's a very good flex position for Johnny Football. And then on the other side with Lily's Ted Ginn. I like Ted Ginn, Orleans offense against Atlanta, so it'll be interesting to see Ginn can get double digits here. Gostkowski versus Butker. I'll give the advantage to Gostkowski, especially because they're playing at Detroit and Butker and then San Francisco. And then the defense, Vikings against the Browns. Browns are playing right now, like I said. But the Vikings are playing Buffalo in one of the worst offenses and quarterback situations in the league between Peterman and I can't even remember their draft pick's name. Nate Peterman, Josh Allen, yeah.
Allen.
Just bad. So I'll take the Vikings defense, especially since they're playing in Minnesota. So. But overall, I'm going to give the advantage to Weston here. I think his team, even though he has two teams playing on Thursday, if they don't perform on Thursday night, it's kind of hard to come back since it's basically like 10 against 8. But I think it's going to be a close one. But I think Weston. What about you? What do you think?
Weston's gonna do what? Make sure your mic's close to your mouth. You're still kind of cutting
Excuse me.
out.
I think Weston's gonna take this game in a close one. If Lilly changes Mike Wallace.
I think that Weston's gonna win too. I'm mainly concerned about Mike Wallace. I think if Lilly doesn't change him, it's honestly a fucking tragedy. It's sort of like, at this point, I finally, after years and years of kicking people and begging to kick people, thought that we had an all-active owner league. It's going to be terrible if she screws up this early in the league to that extent. And if I'm looking at her team, like you said, Arizona's offense, their pass game is bad. I think they're going to get to a point where their run game is decent, but they just can't pass at all. Brady will light it
Yeah.
up. Brady will light it up. I don't think the Seattle defense is as good as you think it is. I think it's fallen off real recently. They lost some weapons.
It has fallen off, but Dallas's offense hasn't showed me anything to prove that they're gonna pop off either. I mean,
No, they're not
I
very
feel
good.
like it's a neutral matchup.
It is interesting.
Not saying Zeke can pop off.
The problem here for Wesson is like he's gonna lose at quarterback. Fournette is coming off of an injury, and he's really relying on Michael Thomas, I feel like, to really get him over the hill. But I do think that he'll win.
I do too as well. But I do have some question marks about his team in the upcoming weeks, especially with wins.
Okay, let's go to Clap 4 and Gruden's Grinders. Deshaun Watson has not been good, although he's playing the Giants, so if he needs his ship to be righted, this is the freaking week. I think he will do better. And Cam Newton is playing Cincinnati. I expect both of these running quarterbacks to probably have real solid weeks. What about you?
I agree. I think both those defenses are questionable, and with running quarterbacks, we both know even if you have a bad game passing it, you can have a decent game running it and getting a rushing touchdown. So I see them both having a pretty good weeks, like you said.
Okay. LaShawn McCoy, Todd Gurley. Give me Gurley. McCoy's going to be so disappointing this year. The Bills are a joke. I can't believe they actually, they're like, all right, Peterman? No, 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 Allen. But it's so scuffed. And McCoy in general, he's getting old. He has a looming domestic violence issue. I don't even expect him to break 100 this year.
Yeah, just give me Gurley on this one.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be
Shit.
said. Gurley's a premier
Give
option.
me fucking. I'd take. I'd take a lot of people over McCoy at this point, dude. Maybe even Duke Johnson. It's that bad. But anyway, Isaiah Crowell.
Who's on the waiver wire.
Yeah, it just dropped for old Devote. Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Cameron. This was gonna be the year where Spencer was actually going to be threatened and challenged, and Cameron just basically gifted him a winning record.
Oh my.
Before Spencer would have at least had to fight for it. And we notice Crowell here has already pulled in 2 touchdowns. He's done the majority of the scoring in this Cleveland game. And I think that is actually going to be enough to outdo Connor.
I think it might be enough to outduel. I mean, I don't know if Connor can put up that much, but I still think he gets a solid amount against
Yes.
Tampa Bay on a Monday Night Football game.
Connor will
But that's the thing is Crowell going to pull up enough points to carry Clap 4 against Gruden overall? Because I don't know if it will.
I don't think so.
I mean, looking at the rest of the game, it will be enough because I really do think Ruben Striders is going to get another win, his third. But
I agree.
This is my idea.
With Cole and Robinson, I think combining for about 15. I'm worried about if Hopkins and Watson hook up a couple times, Clap 4 could be doing some serious damage with discount double points. And Crowell has kind of covered McCoy, So I think Clap4 will do well. I just have Grinders doing better here.
I do too. Like I said, this division is not called what it is for no reason. It might be one of those weeks where both teams put up triple digits, or I mean, close around to that. So I just really I just see grinding it out. No pun intended.
Oh, he's grinding. He's grinding. Hopefully to 3-0.
It was just a statistically great lineup that he has on a week-to-week basis. He doesn't have a player that's not in a usually a favorable position. Well, I'm glad that he has the league. He's just a good tactical owner,
He's
which
doing a
why I
good
feel for
job.
Clapfor here because Clapfor is a good owner, but he's in one of the toughest, probably the toughest division. So
Moving on to Stephen A. Race and the new guys. Jared Goff facing off against Fitz. Fitz has been great recently. Pittsburgh defense just got lit up by Mahomes. I have Fitz doing well again here, and I think Goff he'll be good, but he won't be great. What do you think?
yeah, I'll give advantage to Fitzpatrick. I think he'll have a good game against a questionable Steelers defense and a questionable Steelers team in general, if we're being honest. So, like you said, I don't see Goff doing bad, but I see Fitzpatrick doing better.
I agree. Chris Thompson, ooh, against Kareem Hunt. Tell me about this one, Benny.
Um, uh, I don't know. I don't know if I have much faith in Chris Thompson over against Green Bay's defense, which is pretty solid. Um, but I mean, Chris Thompson has put up good numbers these past few weeks. So I can see him putting up a decent 10, 11 maybe. Kareem Hunt against a good 49ers defense, or so they say on paper. Uh, we'll see how he does. His kind of hampered because of Mahomes, just like a normal Texas Tech offense would expect, except it's just in Kansas City now. So I want to give the advantage to them, but just by a little bit.
Okay. Antonio Brown. Oh, but not before Heidi and McCaffrey. See, the thing you have to know about McCaffrey is he's a big part of their offense as long as it doesn't involve a touchdown. And he's facing
Well, I
Carlos
drafted him.
Hyde.
Not this year, but I've drafted him before. I love Christian McCaffrey.
It sucks when the Browns get behind because that Carlos Hyde's gonna have trouble getting from like 6 points to 12 points in that second half if the Browns are freaking
And
behind.
he's a really good back. I mean, athletically speaking, it's just like you said, when they get behind, they just abandon the running game.
Well, at this point, Carlos Hyde isn't one of these guys that's gonna have runs for over 2 points. Like he's gonna sit there and he's gonna get you points, like 6 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, and a touchdown. Like that's how fucking Carlos Hyde operates. He's not one of these explosive backs anymore.
Very true.
So interestingly enough, I do give the advantage to McCaffrey here.
I agree against the Cincinnati defense, especially with the way McCaffrey is so vital to that offense. I give the advantage to McCaffrey as well.
Antonio Brown was bitching about not getting enough touches. He's facing off against Golden Tate, who's playing the soft ass New England Def. King of Funny, what do you say?
And this is honestly an even match opinion. Antonio Brown, I think, pops off against the pretty bad secondary of Tampa Bay, and then Golden Tate. I mean, I honestly see doing just as well, but not any better than Antonio Brown because New England can keep a wide receiver in check. And that's one of Bill Belichick's strong points is shutting down a team's number one wide receiver. So we'll see how Golden Tate does, but they do pass the ball quite a bit in that offense. So that's why I see him putting up decent numbers as well.
Both will do well. I give Brown the edge. I think Brown's a bit more explosive and he has a better matchup slightly. Adam Thielen is playing soft-ass Buffalo. Mike Evans is playing soft-ass Pittsburgh. Both of these guys are going to go off, I think. This could be a very high-scoring game for old Spence boy. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean both these teams have potentials to pop off this week, especially with uh, Spencer's because Antonio Brown and Thielen. I mean Jimmy Graham. I mean it's just a good lineup overall. So I think it's going to be another shootout. There's been a lot of those this season so far.
Yeah.
Really surprising.
I think Will Fuller has a good day against the Giants. I think that the Chargers defense doesn't do very well against LA, but the Jaguars absolutely feast against Tennessee. I think Keenan Allen maybe gets 8. Robbie Gould, I'd say maybe 7. Jokey Graham, he's going to catch a touchdown. I have Spencer popping off in a big way here, Benny, and winning.
I have new guys winning this one, honestly.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a shootout, but I think Fitz has just pops off. I think Kareem Hunt is going to pop off for his first big week of the year because Mahomes has been doing a lot of the passing. I think McCaffrey has a great week in Cincinnati. I think Golden Tate pops off. I think Evans pops off. I think Ertz against a young Indianapolis secondary. And then the Chargers, I think, will do mediocre with Elliott, but I think there might be some single digits in Spencer's team this week with Keenan Allen, Graham, Thielen, and Brown might put up good numbers, but they also might be bust. Chris Thompson is a question mark. Goff is still young and unexperienced, and the Chargers defense hasn't looked too terrible in my. I don't know. I think it's going to be a very close. I think the new guys squeezes it out very closely.
Yeah, I think the point total for this one will be pretty eye-popping. This is probably one of the most exciting matchups of the week.
I wouldn't be surprised if Spencer won, but I do think the new guys, just based off of these matchups, has the advantage.
Funnily enough, they're both projected about 92 each instead of like triple digits, sort of humorous.
But hey, I mean, it projected pretty close though. Even if it doesn't, I mean, they never project high numbers, but I think it is going to be close.
We got Bing Bong, old Cam Joke against Ramp. Again, projected to be insanely close. A hurt Aaron Rodgers playing a dog shit Washington team. Two things of note for Cam. Aaron Rodgers is hurt, but it's okay. It's okay. He got rid of Mariota and got Dalton, and then he also has Dak. He has 3 quarterbacks, Ben. What do you think about that?
Oh man, it's pretty weird, honestly. Uh, uh, Andy Dalton. I mean, that's the thing. They're all good quarterbacks, but I don't know why you have a third one like that, like Dak or Andy Dalton. Because I like Aaron Rodgers, but it's just a very interesting situation. It's very hard to choose if Aaron Rodgers wasn't healthy.
Yeah. What if he was and he still had 3?
That's just, I mean, you have the matchup, I guess you want, but
For
I
Cam.
don't know, man. I don't know if Cameron wants to be rolling the dice with 3 different quarterbacks. That's just a risky game to play.
The thing is, if you have Rodgers, you're starting him every week. So it's not like Cameron's sitting here like, maybe I give Dak a roll of the dice. Or give the
Yeah,
red.
it's like you can start the quarterback at the flex position.
It's just the 2 backups is sort of bizarre to me, but regardless, if Rodgers plays, obviously he wins. This Drake, isn't it Kenyon Drake? Yeah, Kenyon Drake. He was pretty good last week. I think that he is going to get about 12 again. And Bilal Powell is looking like he's probably going to finish with like 6 maybe 7.
Yeah, Cameron having a player on the Jets and the Browns. Those are just 2 offenses that you do not want to rely on in fantasy. which is why I'm glad Josh Gordon GTFO'd.
I bet you are. Saquon Barkley has been looking great. So is Chimera. I expect both these guys to pop off. We're talking 15 plus.
Agreed.
Okay. Deshaun Jackson's going to be great. Nelson Aguilar will probably be okay. Not great, but okay. Until a quarterback situation settles down more over there in Philly, I'm not feeling great about starting these Philly receivers.
Yeah, neither am I. I don't know how Wentz is going to be. I don't know how he's going to be if he's asked to come in. I don't know. I don't trust these receivers or offense other than the running backs.
Landry's probably going to finish with about 7.
It's Stephon Diggs playing a soft, flaccid Buffalo defense on the other side of things for Aaron.
I'm going to
So
say
I'll
that
give him the advantage.
Diggs is going to triple the score of Landry.
Yeah, especially with Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
Jordan Fumble Reed versus Jesse James. I give the advantage to Jesse James.
I give it to Jesse James, and I give it to Marshawn Lynch on the flex position as well.
Agreed, and
It's
it's not
Corey
close.
Davis.
Yeah.
Hopefully Aaron gets his dick
Out of his mouth.
out. Yeah, because he has a kicker as the bye week. Actually, is he even on a team? Nope, never mind. That was the guy that was waived by the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, that was the Vikings shit boxer that couldn't hit anything.
Daniel Carlson. So yeah, hopefully Aaron changes that.
And then Dolphins and Fudge Packers. I'm going to edge Dolphins because the Oaklands look pretty shit.
Yeah, Oakland's looked like shit. So it's kind of Washington with Alex Smith just look average. So
True.
I see the Packers doing a little bit better, but significant change to the game. Because I think Aaron's going to pretty easily.
Yeah, Aaron will win here. I do. I'm pretty confident in that, actually, assuming he gets a kicker.
Yeah.
And then finally, you versus Mark. This is another premier matchup. Is Mahomes going to keep on keeping on, or is he going to go downhill?
I think he'll level off. I'll still see him having a good 15, 20 points for me. I mean, the way that Andy Reid has ran him in the offense has just looked beautiful, man. So I have no reason to believe that he won't produce average numbers at least. It's only been 2 weeks. I'll keep my expectations tempered, but I mean, first 2 weeks have been good to see.
Jordan Howard, and of course you have Cohen on the bench as well. Howard's pretty solid, but Melvin Gordon is better, don't you think?
Yeah, Melvin Gordon has looked really, really in his third year, vital to that offense. Good offensive line, and he gets some receptions from Phillip Rivers. So I'll give the advantage to Melvin Gordon here.
Tell us about this Keyron Johnson fellow.
He's the running back, one of the running backs for the Detroit Lions, but he's the rookie, and he's just put up decent numbers. And he put up 6.6 last week.
This is
I haven't decided if I'm going to start him.
Bella's holding out guy, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, I might start him or Javorius Allen, who's got 9.2 and 10.4 respectively in his first 2 weeks. He's one of the other running backs for the Ravens, but those were just 2 short rushing touchdowns because he got 17 yards and 8 yards respectively in those 2 weeks. So, I mean, basically, I'm just holding my dick out right now at second running back position but on the opposite side, No Fried has Jamal Williams, who's only put up 4 and 7. Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't know. I'll still give the advantage to Williams, but we'll have to see. It's just because Johnson is such a time hold and Allen is too at splitting running back. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough matchup.
It's about a wash, I would say.
Yeah.
Randall, Cobb, and Garcon.
Moving on to wide receivers. Yeah, Cobb and Garcon.
Who do you got?
Oh man, this is another balanced one in my opinion because KC has a decent defense. Even though I do like Garcon with Garoppolo, but you never know what Randall Cobb's going to do. But I do like Cobb as the official number two behind Devontae Adams. So I think it'll be a decent output for him as well as against a decent Washington defense. So I honestly have it as another neutral matchup.
I give the edge to Cobb because he could catch a touchdown, and I don't really see Garcon having nearly as high of a chance of doing that.
Yeah, that's very true.
A potentially
Randall Cobb
injured
puts up doubt time to time. So
a potentially injured Julio Jones squaring off against Tyreek Hill. Huge edge to Hill here, who has looked great with Mahomes.
yeah, I'll give it to Hill. If Julio Jones is healthy, that might change because, as we know, the Saints' defensive pass is very porous. So, but right now, I'll just because him and Mahomes have been lightning, and I'm optimistic.
Okay. Travis Kelce versus old Howard, and we're not talking Mr. Howard. Kelce gets the clear edge here.
I agree. I hate it. I mean, I wish I had Kelsey. I mean, it's like if I would have got Exodia, like he's the last piece that I would need with Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and maybe Kareem Hunt.
Well,
But yeah, I'll
Cooper
give
Cup's
Kelsey
got
the
to
edge in this.
outperform Sanu, right?
Uh, man, I think there's going to be so many touchdowns in that game. Sanu might get one or two. I honestly give the edge to Sanu in this one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because Cooper Cup, is not really that big of a touchdown threat, but I like him as a slot receiver, and that's why I like him in the flex position. So,
Oh, you'll
but
love
I think Sanu against that matchup, it just looks very tasty. So, I'll give Sanu the edge.
And then we have Hopkins versus Vinatieri. Thoughts?
Oh man, I'll give it to Vinatieri just because I'm a Colts homer, and I love him. So,
All right.
plus Hopkins is kind of unproven.
Despite the fact that the Jets have already put up 11 against the shitty Browns, I think the Bears are going to really fuck Arizona up bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I see some like defensive touchdowns. Like I see one of these games where I lose by like 10 and the Bears having scored like
Things that you
23,
do with a guy like
24
Tyrod
despite how
Taylor, his
bad they
ability to
fucked
scramble.
Arizona.
Third
It could
down and
definitely be one of
5.
those games. So that it's pretty scary because like you said, the Bears defense has looked really, really good and really scary. So I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. But I honestly give the advantage to No Fried in this one.
Really, I honestly edge you.
I mean, I think it's gonna be another close matchup because we're both very equally I mean, what did it say? Like 89 and 93. So I mean, another close matchup that it's predicting. But I really do think that he has some star players like Cousins that'll go off against Buffalo, and then Gordon is just such a premier running back. And then even though the wide receivers do edge me, I think Kelsey is better than Howard. I think Sanu is better than Cup. So, and I think the Bears are really going to be the edge. That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be a really close game, but I think that No Fry pulls it out.
Alrighty. And with that, that concludes this week's TWIF. Ben, it was great having you on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it as always. Everyone that watched, I appreciate it. Hope you all lose, except for Wiley. I hope
Thanks.
he and Jackson continue to go 3-0.
And with
I like to see some undefeated like people going into week 6 and 7. It's fun to see. So
that would be
definitely rooting for you and Jackson still.
peace.